What's going on, guys, and welcome to my next Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 11th Doctor Matt Smith story, The Day of the Doctor. So this was the next one that I picked out, the third story I picked out when I did my review of The End of the World last time. And yeah, it's The Day of the Doctor, it's the big 50th anniversary special, so I was actually quite excited to watch this one again. It's been a little while since I've watched it, and I've only watched it a couple of times. Of course, it's got not only Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, in it, but it's also got David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, who's my favourite Doctor, and it's got the introduction of John Hurt as the War Doctor too, along with Clara Oswald, and it's also kind of got Rose Tyler in it too, definitely Billie Piper, so yeah, I was really looking forward to watching this one again and doing a review on it. Anyway, let's get started with the cast. So we've got Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor, who's really good in this one. It's one of his final episodes. There's literally this episode, and then there's the Time of the Doctor, and that's his time as the Doctor, funnily enough, up. That's the end of his Doctor, so this is towards the end of his run, and he's still got it here. He's really good. I love him alongside David Tennant. I think their chemistry works so well, because they're kind of almost opposites of each other, but at the same time, they are both... I mean, Matt Smith's, I think, quite a bit more silly than David Tennant's Doctor, but they're both the kind of younger, slightly more silly and energetic Doctors, so it's really cool seeing them play opposite each other, and I think it works really well. Speaking of David Tennant, we've got him as the 10th Doctor here, who, I mean, of course he's amazing. He's my favourite Doctor. It was so awesome seeing him back again for the 50th. I don't think the 50th would have been right without him, especially for me. So, yeah, really good stuff from David Tennant. I think his hair was a little bit of a letdown. They didn't really stick up his hair like they used to when he was actually on the show. Other than that, though, nah, he's completely still got it. He works so well against Matt Smith and also John Hurt, and yeah, he's just brilliant. So then, of course, we've got John Hurt as the War Doctor, who is also really good. I like the War Doctor now. Yes, I would have preferred to have had Christopher Eccleston as the 9th Doctor. I would have much preferred that. I also think maybe they could have used... I don't know if they asked him, but they could have had Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor, and I would have thought Paul McGann would have done it. I mean, he did the Night of the Doctor thing, so why they didn't get him to do the War Doctor thing, I don't know. I think it was, from what I heard, more of a thing of, you know, the 8th Doctor's known as this kind of cheery, you know, this Doctor that you wouldn't expect to be in the Dark Time War and stuff, so they wanted a different character because of that, a different Doctor. So, you know what, I'm still really happy they went with John Hurt. He did a brilliant job as the War Doctor. I think I would have still preferred either Paul McGann or Christopher Eccleston, more so Christopher Eccleston though. I think he would have really fit in with this, and I mean, this was pretty much written for him, but then he said, nah, I don't want to do it, so they ended up getting John Hurt and adding in this extra incarnation, but yeah, all in all, he's really good. Jenna Coleman as Clara Oswald, yeah, she's good here. I mean, this is very much focused on the Doctors, in my opinion, so the companions, she's alright, she's just kind of there, she's nothing crazy. At this point, Clara's still pretty good in my book, so yeah, she's good. And then I will just mention that Billie Piper as Rose Tyler, because it's awesome seeing her back. She doesn't really play Rose in this one, she kind of plays, well, she plays the Moment, basically, under the name of Bad Wolf, kind of in the form of Rose, so it's an interesting little concept of that, but yeah, Billie Piper, she's straight back into it, and she's great. Alright, so let's get on to the good and the bad, starting with the good. The TARDIS getting picked up is a really funny scene, pretty much one of the first scenes in the episode before kind of the starting titles, when the TARDIS gets picked up by like a massive crane, and it turns out that it's Kate Stewart and Unit, and you know, the Doctor's like on the phone with her like, wouldn't mind you knocking before you go and pick me up, I don't like being picked up, and then, you know, the Doctor's hanging out of the TARDIS, and the music plays, and the titles come on, and it's just such an epic, cool starting scene. I really like it. Yeah, awesome stuff from the get-go. We've got the production values are substantially higher. I mean, we all know that Doctor Who isn't one of the highest kind of production valued shows out there. They don't have a whole lot of money. They're definitely doing a lot better lately. They've got more money lately, and it's looking a lot better in the modern age. But yeah, I mean, this was a movie. It was pretty much on a movie budget, so or at least for the BBC, I guess. But yeah, the show looks a lot crisper some of the kind of camera angles and effects and stuff they're a lot better than you'd see on the show, at least especially at that time. And yeah, it looks really good. I mean, it definitely looks and feels like a movie instead of just a TV show. So yeah, production values, big plus for that one. Billie Piper and David Tennant are back, like I said before. Really awesome to have them back. I mean, literally my favourite Doctor and not one of my favourite companions, but cool to see her because she did work alongside David Tennant and she was really, really good here. So although she's not one of my favourite companions, I mean, she would be my least favourite companion or main companion of the RTD era. It's still awesome to see Rose back and Billie Piper back. And yep, I've already gone over that. The 10th and 11th Doctor's banter and the War Doctor kind of gets in that as well. When the 11th Doctor arrives with the 10th Doctor, they have this whole banter thing of who's who and, calling... the 11th Doctor's calling the 10th Doctor skinny and sand shoes, and then they call the War Doctor Granddad, and they're comparing their sonic screwdrivers. That's a really funny scene. They both put the glasses on. That's a funny, cool little scene. Yeah, it's just, I think the banter, especially between 10 and 11, is really good, but then the War Doctor comes in, he kind of throws a spanner in the works, and has banter of his own, and that also really works very well. And I love the dynamic between these three. I think they just act alongside each other perfectly. The Saigon Transformations are disgustingly terrifying. Now, there's only really one proper Saigon transformation that we see, like in full detail, which is when Kate Stewart, she gets not turned into a Saigon, but a Saigon turns into her, I guess. And that's really terrifying. You just see her, and then all of a sudden she starts like throwing up orange goopy liquid, and her face starts going all horrible. And this is one of the production value things. I mean, when the Saigons came back in the Saigon Invasion, Saigon Inversion, from what I remember, the transformations then were very quick, and you didn't really see anything. They just kind of changed. Because obviously I guess they didn't have the money, they didn't have the production values at that point, but here they did, and that transformation especially, it was really disgusting. She looked awful, but it was disgusting in a good way, and yeah, it was definitely memorable. It was awesome seeing the Saigons back as well. I mean, they hadn't appeared since the classic series, the 4th Doctor, and I mean, that was only their first appearance, so they weren't exactly a well-known villain. I know the Saigons are these weird villain where they're actually quite well-known, but they've only ever, up until this point, they'd only ever been in one story, Terror of the Saigons, in, season 13, of the classic series, so yeah, interesting to bring them back here, but I mean, they work really well. The cell door was unlocked the whole time. Loved that scene so much. There's all the bickering between the 3 Doctors in the cell, and they're figuring out how are they going to open this cell door. It's like, it's going to take so many hundreds of years for the calculations of the sonic screwdriver, and they're like, wait a minute, we've got hundreds of years between us. If the War Doctor starts his calculations, then by the time we get to the 11th Doctor, his calculations will be done, and they should be able to open the door, and they figure it out, and it's all the most amazing moment ever, and then Clara comes through the door, and it's unlocked the whole time. And I just love that. I love the 11th Doctor just going, it should have been locked, I think the War Doctor actually says it's like, it should have been locked, well, it wasn't. And it's just a really funny moment, and it's something that, although you think, yeah, but why didn't they check the door? This is the Doctor that you're thinking about. He has been in some terrible situations, and he has to figure things out, and something so simple as maybe the door's actually not locked, that probably doesn't go through his brain. He's probably just like, yep, we've got to figure out how to get out of here, not even trying to open the door. It makes sense to me. The Doctors making people forget whether they're human or Saigon. Absolutely love the scene where the 3 Doctors come in, and really it's the 10th and 11th Doctors that take the show. They come in, you've got the Saigons and the humans, but the Saigons are disguised as the humans, so you've got 2 Kates, you've got 2 Osgoods, and you've got 2 with the other guy, I can't remember what his name is, the scientist. And, they're figuring out, are we going to use this bomb to blow up London, or, are we just going to let the Saigons do what they want to do? And I love the moment where the Doctors come in, and Matt Smith and David Tennant just steal the show. They're just like, alright, we're going to make it so that you're not going to be able to remember if you're a human or if you're a Saigon. Nobody's going to remember. And in doing that, they both stop the detonation. And it's just a really interesting moment. Is it a little bit kind of convenient that they just zap their sonic screwdrivers and that's what happens? Yes, but it also does kind of make sense because they already established that they have those kind of things on the wall where whenever anyone goes into the Black Archive, they don't remember going to the Black Archive because it is such deep kind of, it's such secret stuff. So it makes sense that, they're basically screwing with that mechanism and making people forget who they are, which version of themselves they are, and ultimately, what happens, and I think it makes sense, and I'm totally fine with it. The Doctor's freezing Gallifrey in time. Yep, so this is what they end up doing with Gallifrey. They decide that, no, we're not going to blow up Gallifrey this time, we've got a second chance, we're going to do this a different way. And all the Doctors come together. How does that work? Like the first, second, basically for the first of like the 8th Doctors, how does this work? They weren't in the Time War, they didn't know about the Time War, but somehow they're coming out to do this, and it's a bit wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, I'm gonna be honest, but you know what, it's a cool moment, and I love the little cameo for Peter Capaldi. He's not even the Doctor yet at this point, he's still 2 episodes away from being the Doctor, but we get a cameo of his eyes, and those attack eyebrows, and that's just a cool moment as well. And generally, just that whole thing, although a little bit convenient and a little bit like, how does that really work? Yeah, it's a cool scene. And then finally, the Tom Baker cameo as the curator, not the creator. I've written down curator. Yeah, really cool cameo. A little bit kind of mischievous about who he is. Is he the Doctor from the future? I think that's what's kind of implied, but it is kind of left on the nose. No pun intended with the, who knows thing. Yeah, it's a cool cameo. It's awesome to see Tom Baker back. I love how they did get him in here somehow. I really, really like that. I definitely think he deserved to be in the 50th special. And yeah, it's just a cool little cameo at the end. And yeah, generally all good stuff to say here. And with that, I don't have anything bad to say about this episode, to be honest. Like, there was a couple of nitpicky things I said throughout the good stuff, like a couple of things being a bit too convenient, but other than that, yeah, there's not really anything bad I have to say about this. I think it would have been nice to have some more kind of classic Doctor influence in this. It was very much a New Who special in a lot of ways with the Time War and everything, it's all stuff that's come since New Who. I think the Tom Baker cameo kind of, helped that out a bit though. And yeah, ultimately, a lot of the other Doctors, they don't look, to start with, half of them are dead, and yeah, they just don't look right anymore. And they did have the 5-ish Doctors, which I think was around about the same time, as like a spin-offy sort of, mini-sode thing. So yeah, ultimately, The Day of the Doctor is a brilliant, brilliant story. I think it's a really good 50th anniversary special, and I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I think it's great. It's one of my favourite stories from the Matt Smith era. It's just really, really good. The values are great, production values. The story is interesting. It's awesome seeing some more stuff on the Time War and actually getting to know more about Gallifrey and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, just really, really good story. Very enjoyable. 10 out of 10. So, before we end this episode, we've got to pick out our next episode that we'll hopefully be reviewing next week. Alright, so we're ready to pick out our next episode review. Before I go though, if it ends up being a Matt Smith episode, I'm going to redraw it because I don't really want to do back-to-back Doctors. So any other Doctor will be good. But if it's a Matt Smith, I am going to redraw it. We've already had 2 Matt Smiths so far. And yeah, don't really want to do back-to-back Doctors if I can help it. So I'm just going to grab whatever this one is. Ooh, a lot of them are like stuck together, which is a bit annoying. Alright, what have we got? Is it a Matt Smith one? Yes, it is. Okay, Nightmare in Silver, we're not doing that. We're going to redraw it. I think the problem is there's more Matt Smiths because he had a lot of, he basically had almost 2 series of just single episodes, so he kind of has more episodes, I think. So he's got a lot more to go through. Alright, what have we got now? Okay, we've got The Stolen Earth and Journey's End, a 10th Doctor episode. Awesome, because I haven't reviewed a 10th Doctor episode yet. So I'm still waiting for a bloody 12th Doctor one. But yep, Stolen Earth, Journey's End, that's going to be my next review, the first 2-parter to review, so that's pretty awesome. So look out for that, hopefully next week. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.